Hey guys, it's Ironwolf here with another Hyrule Conquest version 0.3 build order video. This time I'll be going over the Gerudo. I personally believe the Gerudo to be, a very strong, aggressive faction, heavily based on raiding and just annoying your opponent in general. They're a bit tricky as far as most of the factions go in this game from what I've discovered, experimenting with them a lot the last couple of days, both in AI matches and multiplayer matches. In the past, so this is going to be a little bit different. In the past, my build orders have been very universal for most matchups in the game, like against most of the factions. However, the Gerudo are there's a little more variety as far as what you want to do against certain factions with the Gerudo. For example, the build I'll be showing here in this video is probably the most standard. It covers more matchups. This what you're going to want to do against the Hylians, the Kokiri, the Zora, and also in the Gerudo mirror match. This build, I like to call it the Grunt Harass Fast expansion build. Um, but you are not going to want to do this against the Gorons and the Goma. It will still work, but it will be not as effective as a lot of other strategies. But you can still do it. Like I said in my past videos, these builds are just suggestions and good cornerstones for you guys to build your own strategies. For the Goron and Goma matchups, you're going to want to use the strategy that I call Ganon Mass Arbiters. I will be making another video explaining that strategy. It's a little bit more of a niche strategy since it only covers those two matchups, and it's really not good against the other ones. And also it's still going a little bit more optimization. I still need to do a little bit more testing with that build to make sure I have it right, and make sure I've got everything's in order before I make a video about that. It's a little less important at the moment since, like I said, it covers less matchups, but in the future it's definitely something you're going to want to learn as soon as I can get that out there. As in previous videos, I will link a text-based version of this build, as well as a replay of this match, and links to my previous build order videos in the description below. But for now, let's get into this replay. I'm really enjoying this faction so far. It's very fun. I really like aggressive factions, so. There we go. Alright, let's pause the game. Okay, so right off the bat here, very similar to the strategies I do with other factions. This has been very universal across most build orders. You're going to be sending all of your starting soldiers onto the wood over here, and your starting workers are going to go over here and build a farm. And you're going to build a group of 5 workers from your palace, and they're going to go into the wood. So you can, with this build, you can choose. With my other builds, I'd say go with Zelda mainly, or only play Saria when you're playing the Kokiri, those type of things. But with this build, you can actually choose whether or not you'd like to go with Naburu or Urbosa. They're both very good. So Urbosa is more, if you're go with Urbosa if you're trying to be very aggressive and rush your opponent and constantly try to win the game fast and early, because she gives your units she makes them significantly stronger. Like I'll read her abilities here, and also she debuffs your opponents. It gives them -1 armor. But it in the formation with your troops, she gives them plus 50% armor versus hack and pierce to her melee infantry, and that's mostly what you're gonna want to use in this build. And then Naburu, she gives a bonus to ranged units, which you will want to use later in the game, and also bonus loot. So you will want to go with Naburu if you're planning on, like, the strategy you're planning on going with is going to take a little bit longer and you need more economy to give you that extra loot bonus. Also, if you want to go for sand snipers later in the game, she's definitely a very good hero to have with that. But Urbosa is more of the aggressive type of hero. So if you want to play more aggressive, you go with Urbosa. If you want to play more passive, you play Naburu. but both of those heroes work in this build. So you see here, 4 workers coming over here to build a farm. Got my 5 artisans coming out here. Soldiers on the wood. I think I'm playing a very hard AI this time. I don't think I set it to like sandbox or anything, but that's okay. It's not that big of a deal. So as soon as they're done with this farm, they're going to go onto the bushes here. Or if you're playing on, Death Mountain and there are no bushes, you're going to go on the Cocos. So as soon as the 5 workers come out, them and the soldiers are going to get started on a mill. And after you do that, you're going to want to build another worker. And this worker is going to want to go on the farm right away. So as soon as the mill goes up, you're going to want to get the wood cutting upgrade so you can start gathering materials faster. And this is going to be so you can get your expansion up quicker. So this is an interesting thing about the Gerudo. So they can expand while in tier 1. And what this means is they can expand their territory, all the way out here or, over here, very, very early in the game. And the reason you're going to want to do this is because it lets you produce troops very close to your opponent. And I'll show you why in a minute once we get enough resources to do that. So let's review, we haven't done much, but let's just review anyway. So we built 5 workers onto the wood, sent our soldiers onto the wood, and our workers to build a farm, and then they're going on the bushes. As soon as you get your mill up, after the 5 workers come out, get the wood gathering upgrade, and then immediately build another worker, and they're going to go on the farm. So at this point, you're going to want to start training 5 more workers individually as soon as resources allow. Like you're seeing here, I'm just producing workers from my palace onto the wood. I'm aiming to get 10 workers on the wood here. As soon as you hit 100 materials after this point, while you're producing workers from your palace here to reach 10, you're gonna want to build a house just whenever resources allow, but preferably pretty early, once you have 100 resources. So you see here I have 8 workers. Now I'm at 9. I just need 1 more. As soon as, yep, there we go. So after you get that 5th worker and you have 10 on the wood, you're just going to want to wait for a little bit until you get 350 resources, and then you're going to want to build an oasis. You should have just enough rupees to build an oasis after getting the wood cutting upgrade. You can also at this point too start producing some hogs or pigs if you want to help your food, but you might want to save some of the food. It's completely up to you what you'd rather do. Just whatever's easier in this build. I find it, sometimes I like to do it, sometimes not. It varies. But let's take a look here. So you see I'm getting close to 150. Alright, this is really important, so let me pause. So as soon as I get to 150, I'm going to want to expand. There are a couple places you want to expand. I might make a video in the future explaining all the like all the best places to build an expansion on all the different maps in the game. But for this video specifically, I'll just talk about some of the good places on the Gerudo Desert map, as it's, the standard 1v1 map. So there's a couple of places you can put your first expansion. You can put it right here if you want to be very aggressive. This is very close to your opponent, and if they're playing a more aggressive faction like the Kokiri, or even like the Goma, if you're doing this strategy against the Goma, this might be a little risky because they might be able to destroy your expansion before you get it up. But the Hylians, the Gorons, or the Zora, or maybe other Gerudos, they usually won't be able to take out an expansion this early in the game. You see, we're close to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It's very rare that a faction will be able to stop you from building an expansion this early. So you can put one right here. This is a good spot if you want to be very, very aggressive. This is a very ambitious spot. It's a bit of, I want to say a little bit overcommitting, but not too much. I put mine right here. This is a very aggressive spot. The reason I like this spot is because it's very close to my opponent's resources. You see they have their wood line here. They're getting stone right here. It's a really good place if I want to start sending grunts over to harass their workers over here. So this is a good spot if you're also looking to play aggressive. You know, if you're looking to be more passive, you can put it right here. You have access to some food, some wood, and some stone right here. You can maybe put it right here if you're, trying to be a little more defensive. And then same thing applies over here because it's just it's flipped. You can put it right around here or here, whichever you prefer, or even over here. I would not recommend getting too close to these unless you have an army, which is for later expansions, uh, because even though there is ore over here and the ore is very tempting, you do not want to mess with these armors. So the best places to make expansions, I would say, is right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, and right here. And if you're on the other side, of course, it's flipped, right here, right there, etc., etc. You get the picture. Um, Usually at the head, uh, the way I like to think of it is you'll either want there's basically four locations on either side. I'm sorry if this is very confusing. There's either by the rupee mine on one side, by the rocks on one side, towards the back of their forward wood line, or towards the front of your forward wood line, if that makes sense, on either side. If that doesn't make sense, just ask me in the comments or in Discord, and I'll be more than glad to explain it to you. So you see here, we're taking all 10 of these workers off the wood, and they're going over here to build our expansion. And now we're going to get a group of 5 workers, and these are going to go onto the wood. The reason for this being, we're going to start needing to get materials while these guys are building our expansion up here. On the Gerudo Desert, it's a little risky to send them by themselves. On most maps, you'll probably be fine. But on this one, and maybe, Misery Mire, where there's a lot of nature that will try to hurt you, you might want to be careful. But, this is a safe journey. They probably won't get harmed. Let's go back here. So you see the 5 workers come out. You're going to get on the wood right here. So we have 5 workers and 2 soldiers on the wood here. And now I'm starting to produce pigs, as you see here. This is another good place to build pigs. This is where I would recommend, just in general, after you've sent those workers over there to start working on your expansion, and you've got this group of 5 workers out here. That's a good time to start getting pigs because food won't be as much of a necessity as it was before. But you're going to want to get food for pigs as well as building some more workers soon to go onto your food because you're going to aim to get 10 workers on your food soon. And so that's what you're going to want to do as far as like building workers and whatnot goes. You see over here they're building their expansion. This is a very aggressive expansion. But as soon as you have the resources, which is 100, after you get these 5 workers out, you're going to want to build another house. Probably, back here or over here, just wherever you're comfortable building one. So you see, I could have done it a little bit earlier, but I wanted to wait and get more materials. But you see I'm getting this house up. Stupid levers. There's levers all over this map, and they cause so many issues. But anyway, they're going to get back to building this house. And I would not recommend building workers onto the food until after you get this house up, as to not cap yourself out. So let's review a bit. So after we sent our workers up here to expand, we've built 5 workers onto the wood. And as soon as they have gotten 100 resources at least, you can wait a little bit longer if you want to, we're going to build another house. And then they're going to go back to wood. After you've gotten the house, you're going to want to get 5 workers. You can build them individually or in a group, whichever, is more convenient for you. And they're going to want to go onto the food over here, on these pigs. And then soon you're going to want to build another farm. I'll show you when. And then as soon as your expansion goes up, all of these 10 workers are going to go on the wood here. Or if you're over by the stone, maybe the stone, they're going to want to get materials of some sort. And you're constantly going to be producing grunts at this point. I like to send my grunts to attack these sand seals just to get some extra food. That's just me though. But you're going to want to be balancing between producing pigs and grunts. Grunts take a higher priority, but pigs are also good because you need the food. Because the Gerudo really struggled to get food. I'm going to mention that again later when you get your market up, because that's very important. These stupid levers, always attacking my workers. You see here, you got these workers on the wood. These 5 workers come out, go onto the food. Still producing grunts as as able when resources allow. Let me go to that. All right. Okay, so this is important to know. After all that's happened, once you should have close to 500 materials at this point, because you've got these 7 down here chopping wood, and then these 10 up here chopping wood or cutting stone, whichever you prefer. And then you're going to build a house and a market. You're going to want this market because you're going to be overflowing with materials, and you're going to need to be trading in materials for food or rupees or just whatever you need to help you, speed up production. So you see we got this house here, and we got a market. This is your building team, by the way, just so you guys know. I mentioned building teams in previous videos. This is the building team you're going to want, just all your workers off the wood here. Still producing pigs, and still producing grunts when able. At this point, I should have a good bit. Yeah, I got 4 right there. So we're getting close to 6 minutes. We've got we've got an expansion up. We got a lot of materials coming in, and we're starting to produce grunts. This is a very good place to be, because soon you're going to be putting pressure on your opponent. Close to the 6-minute mark, most of your opponents, most factions are going to be looking to tech up. So maybe you can go and harass some of their workers, or just go spook them, put pressure on your opponent. Maybe mess up their micro so they'll tech up a little bit later. But usually close to this time frame, people are gonna be saving resources to tech. So it might be a good time to go harass their workers so that you delay their tech. Got this market going up. This happens a lot. The way that the food gathering AI works on pigs is a little weird. You see here around this point too, I want to have some of these workers that are on food build another farm just so I can start getting more pigs out. Still producing grunts when able. Getting more. These workers are going to go back onto the wood as soon as they're done with this market. Now here you're going to want to, as soon as you can, preferably a group build, but you can do it individually, however you feel. You're going to want to get 5 workers, and these workers are going to go on the ore. Because by this point, you're probably running out of ore to build grunts, and you're going to need more. So I'm building them onto the ore so I can start getting grunts. These workers are going to go onto the pigs here. Going to be producing pigs out of these 2. They go back on the wood, market goes up. Still producing grunts. So you see here, let's review a little bit. Since I've gotten the expansion up and I've got, these workers out and these houses up and these workers out over here, I've had my my building team over here on my backwards wood line build a house and a market, and then they're going back on the wood. Then I'm having some of the workers on my food build another farm, from which I'm going to start producing a lot more pigs. And then I'm going to be producing a group of 5 workers onto the ore as soon as resources allow. And remember, always continue to be producing grunts. You're going to want a lot of grunts with this build. Okay, now here, at this point in the game, you're going to start building some defenses. Most of their factions, they don't. I think it's a bit of a weaker investment for some of them to put up defensive structures. But with the Gerudo, you're going to want these because your army, majority of the time, is going to be up here by your expansion or the outskirts of your opponent's base. So you're not really going to have much of defense. So here, I like to do 2 to 4, 2, 3, 4, however you're feeling, or depending on the matchup. Maybe 2 if your opponent's very passive or playing a very passive faction. Maybe 4 if they're very aggressive. But I like to do it in this order. I like to do a tower, and then 2 houses, and then another tower. And then if you want more towers, you do it there. So, you need these houses because you're going to start producing a lot more grunts at this point because you've got a very stable food income and now you've got a very stable ore income, so you can start producing groups of grunts as opposed to single individual grunts. So you're going to need that population boost. So here at my civic center, I trained 5 grunts, a group of 5 grunts. I think I have them gather ore for a little bit before I send them up here. But they're going to be doing that, and I've got this building team over here building these defensives and the houses. Up here, still constantly producing grunts. At this point, we should have a good bit. Yeah, we got 10 here. At this point here, you might want to do a little bit sooner. It's completely up to you, though. You know, if you want to play more aggressive or more defensive, that's completely on you. You might want to have your group of grunts here start, you know, going and harassing your opponent, which I think I do here very soon. Okay, here's what I'm doing now here. I'm getting a group of 5 workers, and these workers are going to be going onto the ore, and they're going to stay there. The reason for this being, you need a lot of ore later in the game to, you know, get marauders and sand snipers and cavalry, you know, for your mid to late game. So you're going to need a lot more ore. So at this point in the game, I'm getting 5 workers, and they're going to go on the ore. You see here now, close to 8 minutes. You might want to do a little bit sooner or a little bit later, like I said, completely up to you. I like to go when I have about this many grunts, which is close to 8 minutes now. Still constantly producing grunts, by the way. And this group of grunts, see they're going over here, attacking this reservoir. And we're going to be trying to take down as many of these units as we can. The reason for this being, you get 25 rupees per unit that you kill. And we're going to need to kill a bunch of units at this point, not only to annoy our opponent and harass them and all this to just, you know, to make them angry, but so we can get our hero out, because at this point we don't have anyone on the rupees. Now you can buy rupees if you want to get your hero out a little bit earlier, but I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend most of your rupee income to come from raiding, because you get a lot of rupee income through raiding. So see here, I killed some of the units and then I fell back, regrouped some of the grunts I've been producing here, take out these guys. Always, always, always producing grunts, never stop. So you see I got 15 grunts here. It's a pretty sizable army. Stupid levers, always getting in my hair. Producing pigs as always. Regrouping my grunts here before I mobilize for another raid. Still producing them. Get 17 grunts here. Usually you might want to go over here, you know, and harass some of these workers. He's not working on this wood line, which is fine, I guess. But if they were, you know, you'd want to go pick them off. You see here, attacking these boomerangers. Well, they're attacking this structure for some reason. But sooner, yeah, you will. These boomerangers are so annoying. But yeah, remember, take out as many units as you can, so you can get the hero up. As you see here, as soon as I had the rupees, I got Urbosa. Urbosa's going to give our army a good, really good defensive buff. Still producing grunts, by the way. Here, I just built some more towers just because I wanted to. You don't have to, but I like to. So you see here, building another house around this point because we're producing so many grunts that our population, you know, is getting a little out of control. So, you know, around the time you produce your hero, you might want to get another house and, you know, some more towers if you want to. That's, like I said, completely on you. Got our grunts here, picking away at our opponent's forces. You want to try to, instead of just slamming them against your opponent and trying to just take out a whole bunch of units at once, you want to focus on single targets because getting them out like as fast as possible will really help your rupee income. So you see here, got a pretty decently sized army of grunts still taking on these workers right there. Those, or I'm sorry, these soldiers. Those boomerangers are very annoying, but you know, producing grunts here. That hero should be coming up very soon. Now, I lose a lot of grunts here because I made the mistake of not focusing the boomerangers because I didn't realize until very late that they had boomerangers, and those units are very good. So I'm left with not a lot of grunts here. But at this point, you're you're very much in a good place. You might want to have your building team build about 3 more houses at this point because you're going to need a lot more grunts and then eventually marauders. But at this point, that's about where you want to be with this build. See, here we're at the 10-minute, 30-minute mark, or 30-second mark. Um, if I had been paying a little more attention, you'd probably have a more alive army of grunts here. Still constantly producing them from here, so close to your opponent's base, you're getting them out really soon. You've got Urbosa coming up, going to give your army a good buff. And, like I said earlier, if you want to play a little more passive, you're of course still going to want to harass because that's a very good strategy with this faction. And not only does it annoy your opponent, and the Gerudo are good at it, but you get rewarded for doing it because you get all the rupees for doing it. But if you want to do more passive version, like I said earlier, go with Naburu. Naburu is very strong. I'll show this match a little bit more just so you guys get an idea of what I mean when I'm talking about raiding and harassing and whatnot. But at this point, the build is essentially over. So I really appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting my videos, by the way. It means a lot to me. So I'll show the rest of this video. Or, not the whole replay because it goes on for a little bit longer, but I'll show some more. See here, my grunts regroup with my hero. Gonna take out some of these units. Producing grunts. I'm now producing grunts from here. Just gotta keep rolling out grunts, as many as possible. Close to this time though, you may consider, teching up, or if you just want to try to end the game, if you think you can, just mass grunts and then just keep rushing them. Just non-stop, just bring out grunts and don't let your opponent breathe. But, if you want to, you can start teching up. The Gerudo really don't need to tech up until much later in the game. And the reason for this being a lot of their really good units and their strong early game comes from their tier 1 units, or their tier 1 structures and whatnot. So they don't really need tier 2 until, really late. All you really need is a bunch of grunts and an expansion that you're able to get a lot of materials from. So you see here, I got Urbosa and these grunts. Very, small army, but it'll grow. Got grunts coming out of here. Got some grunts coming from my palace right now. This time I actually noticed the boomerangers and I take them out as soon as possible because that unit is very annoying. Another very good harassment strategy with the Gerudo that you're going to want to do is take over, like rush an opponent's building, take it over as fast as you can, immediately destroy it, and then run away. The reason for this being, you're not giving your opponent a chance to rebuild it. I mean, of course, if you can just end the game right there, do it. But, if you can kill some of the units, maybe capture a structure like a tower or like a warehouse or even a house, like just a regular house, that does a lot of damage to your opponent. So just keep that in mind, capture, destroy, it's completely up to you. You see I've got a bigger army here, destroying buildings as I'm capturing them. They're bringing out more units. Still producing, at this point, I'm producing marauders because I have a decent army, so I don't need to get units out as fast. And marauders are, even though they're the same price, they're a little bit stronger than the grunts. So they're still a very good unit. You see I have marauders here too, as well as grunts. At this point, the game's pretty much over for my opponent. All I have to do is just deal a final blow, although these Zora defenses are very, very annoying. But, that's pretty much the Gerudo in a nutshell. Very aggressive faction with this early expansion. You can even tower rush with this faction. It's kind of a gimmick. I wouldn't suggest it, but it's fun. You have your grunts just build towers along your borders, and you capture things along their borders, and it just pushes your border in. You just keep building towers. It's really fun to do, but I wouldn't recommend it for a super serious match. But, for fun, it's a fun thing to do. But yeah, that's pretty much the Gerudo in a nutshell. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll have to make some more in the future. I need to make the other video about the Gerudo as soon as I can. I'll probably get to the other faction before I do that. But in the meantime, I will, like I said, leave a link to the replay, a text-based version of this build, and my previous builds in the description, as well as my Discord if you guys care to join that. So I appreciate you guys checking out my video, and give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe.